All right, welcome everybody to the 2023 Bucksmont Regional National History Day Contest Judge Training. My name is Karina Kowalski. I am the Director of Education and Community Services here at the Mercer Museum in Fonthill Castle. And I am on the team that is in charge of coordinating a National History Day. I do want to introduce two colleagues of mine who are on the team as well and on this call who will be helping with the call tonight. The first is our education coordinator, Katie Pownell, who is running our PowerPoint. She is in the room next to me. So if you see me turn my head this way, I am looking over at Katie. The second person I want to introduce everybody to is Anna Durning, who is our very first Ruth Maxon NHD intern for this season. So I believe she sent out the reminder for this tonight's judging. So you will see communications from all three of us. And for those of you joining us on March 18th, you will see all of our faces bright and early that morning. But more about the day of in just a little bit. Tonight, we will be spending about an hour together, and I would just like to ask everyone to mute themselves. You're welcome to be on camera or off camera. We will have plenty of time at the end for Q&A where folks can come off mute and ask questions, but feel free, you can be on camera, off camera, whatever is more comfortable for you. So tonight, we're going to spend about 60 minutes divided into 4 key sections. For the first part of the evening, we'll go through the mechanics of the NHD process in 2023. This will answer questions such as, what are the categories? What does the contest website look like? What do the evaluations look like? And who fills them out? And the next part will be about the different rounds of judging. And then thirdly, we'll explain what to expect on the nights of Zoom judging, as well as what to expect on the day of the contest. Lastly, we'll spend time looking at evaluation forms and how to fill them out for the student's benefit. Lastly, I will again, as I mentioned, leave plenty of time for questions at the end of the call. But if you think of any at any point during the process tonight, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We will do our best to get to all of them tonight. If not, we are available via email if you think of it afterwards. To start, I do want to thank everybody for volunteering this year, whether it is being a new judge or a returning judge. You are also crucial in making National History Day happen. So we are thankful for that. Thank you. Great. So the student, so this is how we're going to talk about the judging logistics. So National History Day is a highly regarded academic program. And actually, Katie, we can go to the next slide. So little brief history on what NHD is for everybody who may not be familiar. I see some new faces here who may not have judged in the past, so just some brief history of what National History Day is. It is a highly regarded academic program for elementary and secondary students. It began in 1974 on the campus of Case Western University in Cleveland, Ohio, and it was the brainchild of a history professor who was worried about the decline of humanities in general and history in particular in American schools. Today, it's a nationwide competition for students in 6th through 12th grade and is very similar to the science fair format. There are hundreds of students on the regional, state, and national level of NHD doing historical research and digging into historical events to create their projects. And we are really excited to see all of these students be as excited about history as I know we all are on this call. So we can go to the next slide. So National History Day gets students out of the classroom and into the world as historians. Actually, Katie, we can go back one. There we go. Get students out of the classroom and into the world as historians. They're doing research and tracking down information about historic people, events. This research leads them to craft a thesis and build original conclusions shared through their different projects. Students have the choice to create either a paper, website, documentary, performance, or exhibit to communicate their historical argument and research. NHD supports and reinforces critical thinking, reading, and research skills for students. The contest progression for National History Day starts on the school level. Many schools have their own contests, and then those students are then promoted to the regional level, which is where we are right here. Sometimes National History Day is part of the student's curriculum, but other times it's voluntary. You'll notice as the size of the arrow gets smaller, indicating that fewer students make it through each round. So we are the regional contest, and the winners from our competition will move on to the next level, which is states, and then hopefully up to the next level, and then hopefully to the national level. Though most of the entries you judge at our competition will not move on to the next level, it is our goal to provide all students with a positive and memorable experience that will encourage them to keep learning and reaching higher. Great. I've mentioned already the different categories, and you will all be assigned to judge a certain category. They are papers, websites, documentary films, and exhibits. The paper category is an individual category only, meaning students cannot submit papers as groups. For the 4 other categories, the submissions can be either individual or in groups of 2 to 5 students. Each category is also divided into the junior and senior divisions. Junior is 6th through 8th grade, and senior is 9th through 12th grade. As an example, the documentary category will be divided into the junior individual, the junior group, the senior individual, and the senior group. The students will be judged based on those subcategories. Students need to design their project in relation to a common theme. The National Office selects the theme each year that students at every level of the competition have to use as their guide for research and historical argument. This year's theme is Frontiers in History, People, Places, Ideas. The annual theme is broad on purpose, and we ask that judges keep an open mind about all the projects they are reviewing. You may personally like or dislike, be excited about, or be tired of a particular subject that you're seeing in a project, but please remember to be consistent and fair, judging all of these student projects regardless of personal feeling. The life cycle of a student's project is usually between September and June. As I mentioned previously, some schools incorporate NHD into their curriculum, and students will begin talking about their project with their teachers. They'll start the research process and then extend all the way till June if they make it all the way from regionals to states to nationals. After choosing their own topic, students do historical research, build a thesis, and analyze their sources. Their projects are not just book reports. Students analyze the information and come up with their own conclusions and historical arguments. This is all in how the process of creating their entry. And then they move on to presenting it at competition. You're all part of that process to give them constructive feedback on their projects. If they're moving on to the next level, the feedback is helpful for them to tweak their projects and make them better for the next level. And if they don't move on, it's helpful for them to continue the following year and continue learning about research and critical analysis. You've seen the category breakdown a few times so far. You will be receiving your category assignments tomorrow. We are just finishing up a few tweaks today, and you'll be judging in one of the 5 categories: paper, websites, documentaries, performances, and exhibits. So let's get into the process of actually judging the projects. As I mentioned before, all of our judges work in teams of 2 or 3 with 1 judge captain on each team. If you are a judge captain this year, you will be notified tomorrow when we send out all of the information. And as a judge captain, you will have the role to submit the student rankings virtually online. And round one judge captains will also come to Delaware Valley University on March 18th to interview students. Thank you to everyone who indicated that they were available for that. And we look forward to seeing you on March 18th, in addition to joining us on some evenings ahead of time. And I'll go through all that process in just a moment. This year, as you're aware, the Bucksmont Regional NHD contest is virtual and in person. Students have submitted their projects digitally, and you, our judges, will be able to view and evaluate them through our contest website where you applied to be a judge. We are going to walk through the process together tonight of logging on, viewing the projects, filling out the evaluation form, and submitting rankings this evening. And we will, in addition, also be talking about how we will be interviewing students on the day of. So on March 18th, judges will meet with students and ask them questions based on prompts we provide. And the interview questions are to be based on a project's content and development. However, ultimately, the rulebook says that entries should stand on their own without any additional comments from students. This is why the projects will be evaluated and ranked ahead of time virtually. The virtual judging component is divided into two distinct components for judging: the first round of judging and the second round of judging. You will receive your judging schedule, as I mentioned, and along with a cheat sheet of all of those judging dates on a single PDF. The rounds are based on the number of entries per category. So let's talk about your roles depending on which round you are assigned to. So round one, judges. You will get the first look at student projects. You're going to fill out what appears to be a survey or student evaluation. All your projects will be available to view beginning tomorrow, and you will be notified when that happens. You will each fill out these forms on your own before your round one meeting on Zoom on the dates listed here, and be prepared to chat with your judge teams about the student projects. The goal is that you have 2 hours to talk about the student projects, with 10 minutes to discuss each one, and then the remaining time to deliberate. By the end of round one, in all categories, the person designated as the captain will take the consensus first, second, third, and fourth place projects and type those right into the system. And now this might sound a little strange, but all other projects will be ranked as 99. This is only so the virtual system can send those to the bottom and sort out the 1, 2, 3, 4s very quickly. And after that, your work is done. Remember that the students will be able to see all of the bubbles you fill out on the evaluation forms, as well as the comments you type in. We're going to look at quality content comments in just a little bit. And I spoke a little too soon. If you are a judge captain in this round, you will also join us on March 18th, in addition to these evening nights. So we'll go to the next slide for round two judges. So round two judges, the top entries from round one will be sent to a second round to whittle down the entries to the first, second, third, and fourth place projects of the entire category and division. Again, any other projects there can be designated as 99. You will not be filling out any bubbles. However, the judge team captain of round two will have an opportunity to summarize the conversation of the judge team and add some comments to a comment box there. Then again, like round one, they will submit the rankings to us and have it in place. So based on how Nationals is set up, since round one has already evaluated the projects, the round two judges are responsible for honing in on the rank of the projects, and you serve as our second set of eyes to confirm the category winners and again add those few extra constructive comments. You will not be able to see the bubbles and comments from the previous team in round one, and your fresh eyes provide an unbiased and fair view of these final projects. Prior to your judging nights, you can make your own notes and your own ideas about the merits of each project. And then on Zoom, on the Zoom night listed here, we've put all of round one on the same night. You will meet with your judge team and deliberate. Round two judges can only view their projects after round one has concluded. And our team will be sending an email as round one finishes when those projects are available to view. It is generally by no later than 1 p.m. the next day. So you will see email dates with your category and night that you'll be joining myself, Katie, and Anna on Zoom. Your judge teams will be in breakout rooms during these nights that you have to discuss your projects. You will have 2 hours and, as I said, about 10 minutes to discuss each project. Katie and Anna and I will be available to answer any questions that you may have during that night. You should all be able to log on to your judge portals on those nights and be able to view the projects and then input the rankings. Your evaluation forms should be completed before meeting with your judge teams on those nights. However, on those nights, as you come to a conversation, you are able to make edits to those at that time. So that is not a final comments or final bubbles in that form. You are able to edit them. So once your team reaches a consensus, the judge captain will again input the top 4 projects, and then round 2 judges. Your evaluations will have a comment box that you will add as well. And then the judge captain will submit the rankings for all the rounds. So for the first time since 2019, we are able to return to meeting students in person. And I know this is, we are all very excited for this. It's been a long time coming. We've had to transition to be virtual for the past couple of years, but we are also excited to have judges meet with students and for all of our team to meet all of you in person. So we will meet at Delaware Valley University here in Doylestown on Saturday, March 18th. This year, the exhibit students will bring their exhibits to display, and performance students will have an opportunity to perform their projects. While judges will have already read through and evaluated their projects based on the digital submissions, you will have an opportunity to provide feedback about the student interview. Judges who will be coming to Del Val will be sent detailed information about when to arrive, where to park, and your individual student schedule for that day in the coming weeks. Upon arrival, judges will check in with our team, and then we will hold a brief orientation before sending judges to their appointed rooms. I will say there will be breakfast refreshments all day for all judges on site. As we have already discussed, the judges will be viewing projects ahead of time this year. This allows for more thoughtful feedback to be provided to students on the evaluation forms. However, as we all know, would like to be a part of, a component of the NHD experience is the student in-person interviews. At least one judge, the judge captain from every round 1 judging team, will meet with the students of the projects that they reviewed. Interviews will last no more than 10 minutes, and there'll be a 5-minute buffer built between all student entries. Students who entered as a group will all be interviewed as one, like you see in the image here. Student interviews give participants an opportunity to share about their work in an academic setting outside of the classroom. The interviews are a learning opportunity for all students. Each judge will have a form to add additional comments about the interview. Some students are really great with interviews. Some of them might need some constructive criticism on how to be a little bit better. And it's your job to help them with this learning process through your comments. These are skills that will serve the students in the future. For students, the chance to talk to the adults and share about their work is an important professional development opportunity, and feedback specific to that experience is valuable to them. As I alluded to previously, NHD evaluates projects on whether primary sources are used or whether the material was written grammatically correct, as well as the student's analysis and conclusions about the historical data. The project should stand alone from the comments from the students. Now, I'll briefly talk, we've alluded to it a little bit, but I wanted to show some visuals about the process of interviewing students. Judges who arrive on site will be given a packet, and on it will be a list of the prompt questions that's on the left-hand side of your screen with plenty of spaces to write your notes. The second on the left will be the official comment evaluation form for you to summarize your thoughts and comments. This will be turned into our staff at the end of your interviews and given back to students. Each of the official comment forms will be pre-labeled with the students' names and their project title. The first couple questions are broad and general. This helps set the student at ease and shows them that the interview process is not a scary one. Then the questions will be more specific about the research done and the methodology of the project. So I do want to go over some protocols for interviews, some don'ts, if you will, that you want to be aware of while judging and try to avoid. We don't want to lecture our students about their topic. The interview is a time for students to add to their project, not for judges to talk through the whole 10 minutes. 10 minutes does go very quickly. Please don't make any comments about how they did overall in comparison to other students or projects, and avoid saying things like, "This was the best project I've seen all day." The interview is also not a time to offer suggestions for improvement. Your comments on the judge evaluation forms may serve that purpose, as well as the evaluation forms that they would have received from round 1 as well. And though we've already said it tonight, remember, you might be biased towards a particular project or for or against a particular project. So try to be aware of this and prevent it from affecting how you judge. Be thoughtful in your comments and use the interview time to hear the students. If there are guests watching and around in the exhibit hall, all the exhibits will be in one large auditorium. Do your best to separate where you, the judges, are standing and from where the parents and guardians and teachers and friends and family may be standing. This helps the student focus on the judges during the interview process. So I do want to pause here just for questions before we dive into the judge portal system. So if anyone has any questions, either feel free to come off mute or type into the chat box. Excellent, we're doing a really great job of explaining everything. So I do want to switch gears just a little bit and show the portal for where you will log in and go through a little bit of that process. So this is where you were when you logged in as a judge to make your account online. So from here, this is where you will access your student projects. For judges who have been with us the past couple years, this will look very familiar. So I'm going to not use our admin password today. And we will type in our username and password. Just really hoping it would go the first time. All right, so this will be your main home page that the judges will see. Those of you who have logged in already, you'll look familiar. I will include the link to tonight's recording in our judge resource category here. So if you can't find it in email, it will be posted here as well. And so we have the contest rulebook linked here, the theme narrative that National History Day writes for all judges, teachers, and students. I do want to highlight there Bucks County and Doylestown is featured in the book. A barber shop here in Doylestown was one of the stories featured in the book. So do feel free to flip through a really interesting story and really local to us. And then there's a link to the National History Day website. This is the main national office's website. But so we are here ready to judge our projects. You're going to go to the judging tab at the top of your main toolbar at the top of your screen on the left and click judging. From there, you're going to click judge portal. It's the first option on the drop-down menu. So this will be your judging portal for judging, and this is where you will be able to view all of your projects, fill out your evaluations, and submit your rankings. I only have one test judge in our box here, but you will see the names and contact information of all the other judges on your team. And the first person listed will always be the judge captain. From there, you will be able to see your you'll be able to see the names of the people and their contact information. Below will be the evaluation forms and the projects assigned. It'll always tell you what division you're doing, if you're a junior or senior, what the category is, if it's a group performance or if it's an individual performance. It will tell where that interview will take place. So for round 1 judges, this building will tell you the building location that you will be on site at Del Val and the room number. For round 2 judges, it will say virtual judging. It will look very similar to this screen here. To view your assignments, you will simply click the blue view and evaluate button underneath each of the projects. You'll notice I have 2 test projects assigned to this judge tester. So if we click the first view and evaluate, that's going to open up a new tab that will show the evaluation form. It will also at the top have links to view that project. So for performances, it will have a URL to the video of that performance, as well as a link to a PDF of the written materials, the annotated bibliographies, and the process papers for all the students. Please do read through and watch all of the projects before you begin filling out that project's evaluation form. Below will be the evaluation form. They are the same across all categories. For the documentary and performance categories, you will see that URL to go to the video. For paper exhibits, there will be simply a single PDF where all of the projects will be located. And then for websites, there will be a link that will take you to the student's website. It'll pop out another window to take you to that student's website. Then you have the digital evaluation form. This is what a round one evaluation form looks like. It has all of the bubbles to fill in, as well as, then I'm going to scroll quickly, but I'll come back, I promise, as well as a comment box at the end. The first section is called the historical quality section, and it is weighted at 80%. This is one of the most important parts and the most value that NHD places on projects. And it covers things like the historical argument. Is the argument supported by analysis and evidence? Is it related to the theme? Did the student do wide research, or do they only have a very limited bibliography? Did they use primary sources? Have they placed the project in its historical context and made connections that were relevant to what was happening in that time? Does it offer multiple perspectives, or is it arguing just one perspective? Is the information accurate and credible? We are not expecting our judges to be experts on any of the topics the students submit. They may be, but do your best at this one. If it appears accurate, this is a great place to check out the annotated bibliography. Are they only using Wikipedia? Are they only using personal blogs? Or are they using really credible sources to help provide their information? And as well as the project's significance in history and how it's analyzed in the conclusion. The next part is the clarity of presentation. It's got a weight of 20% on it. And this is more of the technical aspects of the project. We're in a performance category as an example for this one. And you'll notice that it has things like it has a dramatic arc, and then the characters are developed and connected to the historical argument. You are able to hear and understand the students, as well as then the student voice comes through. This section, the clarity of presentation, is different for all the categories based on the type of category. So the paper section is going to look different than this performance section, whereas the up above one, the historical quality, is the same for all categories. The next section is just rules compliance. These are just simple ticks of yes or no's. Was the performance under 10 minutes? Was the process paper submitted? Was the annotated bibliography separated into primary and secondary sources? If you select a no, we just ask that you explain it quickly. This can be a couple words here and there. Does it not have to be a full paragraph? The last section is for comments, strengths and areas for improvement. Students will see these. And then the next section is for your personal notes. So this is notes you may want to make to yourself to bring up at your judge session before you maybe formulate your final thoughts. When you are ready to come to the night of judging, whatever night that is, you'll simply click Save and Share with Team. Oh, it's not going to let me go because I did not fill in these words. So I'm going to simply click Yes to avoid filling those in. So then it's going to ask you, are you sure you're ready to share your evaluation with your team? And then it lets you know that you may return to edit until your team captain submits the rankings. We're going to click OK. This means that anybody else in your judge team will be able to then open up your evaluation and read what you wrote. So you'll notice this one was the one we just filed and saved as, so we were able to view it as if we were another judge. If you don't want anyone to see it, you're not ready yet, you can simply click the save button, which is what happened for this project. And that's why it says in progress and you're not able to view it. Each judge forms should not be identical. Instead, they should be complementary in tone and range, meaning that one judge should not check superior if the others check fair. So let me pull up an example. So if one judge should not have all on this side of the columns and then another judge has it all on this side, they should be complementary in tone, but they do not have to be the exact same. So I do want to spend some time going through this particular evaluation as to why it is a good evaluation form. So we're going to go down to the bottom. You'll notice that the judge is really thoughtful in the types of bubbles they filled in. It wasn't just one whole column, but really thoughtful and well thought out. If we skip down to the comments, you'll notice that it has lots of positive reinforcement, and I can make it a little bit bigger. I'm aware that it might be a little small on everybody's screen. But the criticisms are also phrased in a constructive way. When offering a critique of the project, you should try to give students examples of where you're seeing the need of improvement and perhaps why. The comments in the rubric checkmarks support each other, and it overall ends in a positive note. Even if a project is not a category winner and you think it needs a lot of improvement, thanking the students for their participation goes a long way. This form is well thought out and helps us achieve our goal of teaching students and helping them grow. Most of the students competing will be or at least in the junior level, are middle schoolers, and in the high school level, they're 9th through 12th graders. So please keep that in mind. They are younger, they are not college or grad students writing these projects. So please do keep that in mind as you're evaluating, especially if you maybe do have experience working with college level students. All right, so I'm going to close out of this one. It opens a new tab every time you do it. And I want to take a look at one that maybe is not a great evaluation form. You'll notice that, and I'm just seeing a comment in the comment box that this column does not say superior. I will alert the makers of our database. This is what we are given from the national office, so they make all the edits to it. So thank you, Douglas, for pointing out. I will let them know that they are missing the word superior at the top. So that's what this column is supposed to be. I will see if I can get that fixed. I can't guarantee that before everyone starts reviewing their projects. So looking at this rubric, you'll notice that this judge just thinks that they're all superior all the way down on all fronts. So although it may be possible, it is rare to see a project that should get all top marks. And even if that is the case, we want to include as many comments as possible to say why they may be earned such a high ranking. So you'll notice here, now that we're in the comment box, please do not put the actual rankings anywhere on the judge evaluation form. Students get these back, and it's not appropriate to return it with their ranking, even if they do win. If you need to make changes to your rankings and want to sketch them out ahead of time, you can use the personal notes section of the evaluation that students do not see. It is helpfully colored, a very different color. It looks kind of pink or red on my screen, so that way you know the students will not be seeing those comments. The other part I want to point out about these comments is that good job, awesome props, they made a best project I've ever seen. While they do not tell the student anything about how they did or what they could possibly do to improve. The judge's comment should be more thought out and actually offer feedback on the student's work. Next, as well as with the ranking on top, you don't want to include any type of comments that indicate what place the student earned or a place you thought they deserved. Lastly, you'll notice that it is not quite as full as the other one. And if I click here, we do have a minimum count. See if I can get it to say it. I only have 184 of 500 characters. So you will not be able to save and submit this one because it does not meet the minimum requirement. So again, we need a little bit more context and comments in this box. So I will not, if I try to share with the team, it'll tell me that I have not included sufficient strengths and areas for improvement comments. So what I can do is I can save it, which will save all the work I have done if I want to come back to it, but I have to know that I have to finish this evaluation form before I can share it with my team and that the judge captain can then submit those rankings. So before we head back to the PowerPoint, I do want to take a minute to answer some questions and answer any questions you may have. I saw a couple come through in the chat. Ivan asked, can the interview impact the rankings done on round 1 and 2? For this year, they will not. So the projects will stand alone and the rankings will be set ahead of time, and the interviews will support the projects, but they will not impact the rankings as a whole. And thank you, Doug, about the superior comment. Didn't even notice that, so I will wonder where it went. Megan asked, for round 2, is that just the team captains or everybody? Only the team captains on round 2 will see, it will not have these bubbles, it'll have a box just like this. So it'll only be a comment box, and that's developed by the national office and how they developed their ranking system or their comment section. Great question. Excellent. Seeing no questions, I'm going to have us return back to the PowerPoint to finish up a little bit. Great job. All right, and we access the student projects through the judge portal. So we did that slide. Great. What makes a good evaluation? As we went through, our goal is to encourage students to keep learning and growing. And we can do that through that positive feedback and comments that you put on those judge evaluation forms. Your role is to examine student projects and to evaluate them based on those very specific criteria provided to us from the national office. These forms will be used at all levels of the competition. So at the state level and the national level, and other regions across the nation will be using these exact forms. So we can go to the next slide. As a judge, you are determining which students will ultimately move to the state competition. And it's you who decides if the students have adequately explained their topic and related it to this year's theme, Frontiers in History, People, Places, Ideas. As we mentioned, some of you will be filling out bubbles, some of you will be adding comments, and then they can all be evaluated and ranked accordingly. So no matter if you are filling out a lot of the form or just part of the comments, we remind all of our judges to be encouraging and positive. We know these students have worked very hard in these projects. It takes a lot of work to put these projects together. So we want to be very encouraging and respectful of that. And as I mentioned, we do ask that you remember they are middle and high schoolers. So let's get into, we talked about this already, but I wanted to show it in a little bit different of a view to just see. So this is what the breakdown of that evaluation form looks like. 80% is weighted on historical argument, while as 20% is relegated to the clarity of presentation. So students are not just memorizing facts or recounting them, they should be interpreting and analyzing those facts. So that's where you're seeing that historical quality come through with that strong thesis statement and a conclusion based on their research. We are looking for projects that offer thoughtful analysis and well-rounded conclusions at the end that balance their primary and secondary sources. They should be clearly stating why their topic is significant in history and how it relates to this year's theme. Frontiers in History, People, Places, Ideas. I'm going to say it as many times as I can so that everyone remembers the theme for this year. And just a reminder to everyone that fame does not necessarily mean significance always. We want students to be explaining to judges through their project why they think their topic is significant and how their sources help them prove that statement. The clarity of the presentation is all about the project's presentation, appearance, grammar and text, and use of equipment. And as I mentioned, it's customized for each category, so they might be looking a little bit differently. Some projects might be well executed, beautiful, or elaborate, but if the historical context is lacking, then but if the historical significance is not well represented, you want your evaluation to reflect it. Just because it is cute and pretty does not necessarily mean it wins. So we talked about what makes a good comment. I want to summarize here. We saw examples, but I do want to bring up some more key points. You want to tell students why that aspect of their project was fair or superior with specific examples of how to improve. I find a very helpful tactic is to ask questions. Why did the Apollo moon landing revolutionize space research and communication? How do you think carrier pigeons influence the outcome of the war? Questions can help students get thinking about their projects from a different perspective and perhaps ways they hadn't before. Again, the constructive criticism sandwich that we may have heard in school sandwiches a constructive complaint between, sandwiches constructive critiques between compliments. And again, we always want to end on acknowledging the students' hard work. So this is, again, a helpful table for everybody about thinking about filling out the comments for evaluation forms. It's a breakdown of turning your constructive comment. Some of the examples you'll see are saying this project needs a lot of work. And you can say, you're off to a good start, but consider strengthening your project by doing X, Y, Z. Instead of saying the sound quality of your documentary was awful, you can say the poor audio quality of your documentary distracted from the project overall. Consider testing your audio on different systems with different settings ahead of time. This is just to give you an idea of how to word constructive comments so students can learn from them. National History Day has rules for every entry and specific rules for every category. As I mentioned, you can access your contest digital version of the contest rulebook on the judge portal where we logged in earlier. When I send out your assignments later tomorrow, I will also be sending an abbreviated copy of the rules by your category. Though it might be tempting to just read your section of the rulebook for the entire category, I do recommend that everyone read it through. As they have updated it recently. If you've not judged with us, this was a recent update in 2020. So it is a newer version of the rulebook if you have not judged with us in a while. Many of these projects will be so close in judging, and consulting this rulebook will help you when trying to determine if a project will be ranked above another. In the deliberation process, you may have questions about infractions and disqualifications. This table is helpful for deciphering what counts as a minor infraction, a major infraction, or a cause for disqualification. Both minor and major infractions should be noted in the comments of your evaluation forms. Minor infractions should not prevent a project from advancing, but it can be considered more when looking to break a tie, particularly if the projects are really close. And this can be anything from they did not put their school name on the process paper, or they exceeded their word count by 10. Again, it's not going to change the value necessarily or the historical significance in their project, but it's enough that they didn't follow the rules in a particular way and may give them an edge up on a project that may be similar in historical quality. A major infraction is things like they exceeded the time limit by 2 minutes, giving them an advantage over other entries. So perhaps these entries would not advance to the next level. Lastly, a disqualification is only for 3 things, and that is reusing an entry from a previous year, plagiarism, and tampering with another entry. Something important to note that no entries will be disqualified on the spot by judges. Please let me know if you notice in any of the projects that you're evaluating if you suspect plagiarism. We do have a process for handling that, or if you think for any reason a project should be disqualified, please contact us at historyday@mercermuseum.org, and we will be the ones to investigate and take action. Disqualification is hard to prove, but we want to do everything possible to make the competition fair for all of the students competing. Lastly, I want to quickly debunk a few NHD myths that have become common. These relate to some specific categories. For exhibit and website judges, Please remember that timelines are not required. Even though they're a helpful tool, student projects don't need to have them to move on. Performance judges should remember that songs are also not required. They certainly can add to a project, but projects without songs can be just as good, if not better than performances with songs. In documentaries, student-conducted interviews or oral history interviews are not required either. They can be included, but having an actual interview by a student is not a must. If an oral history is included, the interview must have been conducted by the student. For all judges, please remember, glitz doesn't necessarily win. If a project is beautiful and catches your eye, that is fantastic, but we want to make sure the historical research, relation to theme, and clarity of project are also there. Lastly, there is no winning formula for student entry. They come in all shapes and sizes, cover a variety of topics from local history to world history to national history, ancient history. So keep an open mind and consider each project with a fresh eye. I know this was a lot of information in a really short time span, and I do want to leave time for questions if anybody has any. In the meantime, our contact information is there. The email is checked very regularly, and the phone number extension there are Katie Pownell's, and she will be here on site. So I will take a minute to answer any questions. Anna's been answering them in the chat, which is fantastic.
I'll just reiterate for people who may have missed it. If you have forgotten your password, forgotten your username, just shoot us an email at the History Day email, and we'll be able to reset that on our end as fast as we can.
Excellent. Good point. Yes, it was a long time ago that some people registered, so it is a simple fix.
Hi, Karina. I just have one quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said the rule book or like abbreviation or cheat sheet of the rule book would be like made available. Is it on the portal or?
It will be. I will make sure it's on the portal by tomorrow when everyone has it.
Got it. Thank you.
They're nice to have on the night of, we found, just to refer to. I do want to just comment to everybody in case you don't hear from me for a week. I am leaving for a week starting Friday. Tomorrow's not Friday. I'm leaving Friday, but Katie and Anna will be here answering questions and helping move us along. But just know that you'll be seeing Anna and Katie responding from the NHD email. And as a reminder, we will be sending out this recording to you tomorrow. And thank you all so much for joining us tonight and joining us as NHD judges. We will get your assignments out to you tomorrow as fast as we can. And please let us know if you have any questions. And again, we look forward to seeing those of you who are joining us on March 18th at Del Val. It's exciting for all of us, and we are so grateful to them for hosting it again this year, and to have our students returning in person. And if there's no more questions, I'm seeing none, we can end for the evening. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks very much.